Hello and welcome to the channel. This channel is not dead. Um, if you are an existing subscriber, you might have seen a few videos I've put out over the years. Very basic stuff, just video grabs from games, fun stuff, things like that. But I thought now with the dark, the snow and a worldwide global pandemic, people are spending a lot more time at home, not too much going on, so I thought I would try and brush up on my video skills a little bit, cover some of my hobbies, games, hardware, PCs, things like that. We've just passed Christmas, and for a lot of kids they might be getting their first games console. If they're really lucky, they might have got an Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5. Good luck finding those at the moment though. If anyone's got one, congratulations, very lucky. Hopefully I'll get mine somewhere in the middle of the year if we can get stock in at Amazon. But it started me thinking, what was my first console? What was your first console? What games did you play growing up? All the games you're watching now are all games that came out in 1980, year I was born. So these are the games that would be available to a newborn me. Not that I was playing games at the very start, but I just want to show you what my first experience of gaming was. Hopefully I'll be able to put a few more episodes out of other interesting things, old retro hardware, retro games, things like that. This episode's probably not going to be the most exciting thing around, but it felt like the right place to start. This is Genesis for me, not Sega Genesis, Genesis, the beginning, the very start, the Stone Age of gaming, my first experiences. So hopefully you'll find it interesting. If you do, write in the comments, let me know what your first console was, your first experience of gaming, all that good stuff. So if you grew up in the 1980s like myself, and you were fortunate enough to have parents that were going to buy you a games machine, it was likely not specifically a games machine at all. It was a computer, or as the term back then was, a home micro. You might have had an Amstrad, a Commodore 64, a BBC for the posh kids, maybe an Acorn Electron, an Oric, or probably most likely for people in the UK, a Sinclair ZX Spectrum, which my family started out with. 48K, I later owned a 16K myself, which feels strange saying that with a computer with 32 gigabytes of RAM these days, how things change. But that was not our first system. So I'm going to introduce you now to what my first experience with gaming was. And here it is. This is a Radofin Color TV game. I believe it was also marketed as a Radofin Telesports as well. I'm sure a few people are groaning now looking at this. You might have grown up with something similar. I know Binatone did a few different models, Radio Shack, but a lot of people would have had something like this as their first experience, I think. It doesn't do a huge amount. It has several different games on it, and a whopping 3 sounds. All the games naturally are sports related. I think that was very much a thing at the time. You've probably noticed the color of the console it looks really dirty. It's actually as clean as I can get it. With these old plastics approaching or exceeding 40 years old, that's what happens. They go brittle, they discolor. There is ways of restoring it, but this is kind of how they end up. Okay, and here's the console with the various controls on them. First of all, on and off, fairly self-explanatory. On this version, if you turn it on but don't select a game, the console will not output a signal, which is a little confusing trying to get these old systems up and running. The original one of these, I should explain, this is a later one I bought off eBay, which is in slightly better condition. I believe did put out a signal or default to a game. This doesn't. Onto that, you've got your left and right player sizes. That affects the bat sizes and the target sizes. You've got the speed. If you're knocking a ball around in the game, the speed changes the speed of the ball or the target after a set period. Reset resets the game, and then you've got your buttons for your various game selections. For some strange reason, a lot of these old consoles gave you the option of running them off batteries. I don't know why that was. I can't imagine anyone has ever done it, but the option is there, and this one runs off C batteries, which is pretty old school. I mean, even if you're in the shops now, when did you last see a C size or maybe even a D size D cell battery? Probably a while ago. I think batteries these days are so much more efficient that everything runs a lot lower power. They're just not needed anymore. But the option's there if you need it. Here is a picture of a damaged controller. This is really common on these with the screw-on plastic handle. They break, they snap very easily, which is why I have bought this one that's in better condition. One thing I am missing for this is the original box. I think maybe we do have it somewhere. It's probably in someone's loft, but it's really nostalgic for me. Just seeing this retro box just makes me smile. The details on the side hooks up easily to any television. That is quite true. Here we are 40 years later and I've hooked it up to a 50-inch flat screen TV. No trouble whatsoever. Automatic on-screen digital scoring. You could actually get some earlier ones of these that didn't have that. Some of them actually had a counter where you could move the slider along to show what your current score was. So something as basic as on-screen digital scoring, quite a selling feature. Sports action with 10 exciting games, well, I think you could probably dispute that a little bit. Half of them are sort of training ones or practice events. 3 different sounds, we'll be hearing those later. Variable speed and back control size. And the back of the box gives you a few screenshots of the games we're about to take a look at. Okay, I don't currently have a capture card for this. I am just capturing it straight off the TV by pointing a camera at it, which in a way feels a bit more authentic. So first of all, we are going to take a look at target practice. Really simple game. Move your cursor over the rectangle, click the button, you get a point. If you miss it, you lose a point. You can play with a second player, and then target practice becomes target, where you both compete for the high score. Again, challenging each other to put your cross over the rectangle, click the button, whoever gets the most points wins. You've probably noticed as the second player has been added, the screen has gone black and white. That's nothing I've done in post-processing, it's just what happens with this old hardware. When we first had this console, I think the majority of the time we were playing it on a 12-inch Radio Shack black and white TV, so this is actually extra authentic. You can kind of see why the colours green, yellow and blue are that way. So if you do happen to play it on the black and white TV, you can still see who's who. Okay, next up is tennis. 2 players only. In colour. This is basically Pong, I would guess you would say. There's that on-screen digital scoring again. Really nice to have. Here you can change the sizes of the bat on the console. I think it takes them down to about half size, and alter the ball speed, which makes the ball speed up after about sort of 5 seconds or so. It will then be the faster speed, which is a lot more challenging. Next up is Gridball. I'm not sure what sort of realistic sports action game this is. For me, this is probably the game that got played the least. Basically, long pong bats, knock the ball to the other side, win a point. If you just moved your joystick down, the lines kept moving and your other player could not get past. Really quite boring, this one. On to hockey. Here you both control 2 players each and can move freely around the field to knock the ball into the other player's net. Not bad, this one, not bad. And here is football. FIFA 1980, Pro Evo 1980. This is what you might have played back in the day. Very similar to hockey. Very, very basic. However, compare it to the modern version. no card packs, no microtransactions, no downloadable content, no EA games. Brilliant. Next we have squash and squash practice. Gonna take a little look at the faster ball speed here on the squash practice. Definitely a little bit more challenging here. Squash itself pretty much the same, but you just take turns hitting the ball depending on the colour. Finally, last game, or two games on the list, basketball and basketball practice. Not like any game of basketball I've ever seen with the way the ball bounces, but there you go, that was the technology at the time, that's what you got. Whilst that is all the games on the box, a young enterprising me did realise that if you mash several of the buttons together, you can sort of make a mashup of the game. So if you want to play target squash or grid ball, football, you've got the option. So at the end of it, whilst this system may look extremely primitive today, I can honestly say I had a lot of fun with this machine. Even later on when we got the ZX Spectrum and maybe even other computers, I still remember playing this on my parents' kitchen TV, the old 12-inch black and white that hung around entirely too long. Great little system. So I hope you enjoyed that little retro flashback. Write in the comments, let me know what you played. Growing up, what was your first experience of games, consoles? Maybe it was an arcade game, maybe an LCD game, something like that. Let me know in the comments. Hopefully I'll get some more episodes out, and thanks for watching.